hello, Ellen.
Well, hello, Trevor. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Table. It's season 2 of the Yard to Table podcast.
That's right. Season 2 of Yard to Table. I bet a lot of people thought we weren't going to come back. I bet there were people out there that were thinking, that was nice. They're lovely people. There's no way they can do this again. But we did, by the way. You're never going to not hear us.
We love it.
You're going to hear us in your dreams.
Sure. Okay. That's not weird. We listen to the theme song as we get ready to record. It's like our little pump up. It was so nice to hear it.
It is lovely to hear it. Yeah.
It felt good. I was like, oh yes, we're back at the table.
It's nice because you have this big break, which is it's very seasonal.
Yeah.
You know, over the winter time, it's there's not a lot growing in a garden over the winter usually.
Right.
And then you're back and here we are.
And here we are. And it always feels like winter is never going to end.
There's a point in time, and I'm sure that that's true for everybody that lives here, where you're feeling sort of late February, March time frame that it will be like this forever.
Yes. In its stark and brutal beauty, which we love.
But you're sort of like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're the ones that end up with winter forever. It's not always been the case, but I guess this is our generation. This is the year where it's winter for the rest of time.
Well, weather is crazy.
It is science fiction.
As we know.
For sure.
Last year, it warmed up very early.
It was super warm.
Yes.
Last season.
I feel like we had a real New England winter this year.
A lot of snow and a lot of ice and a lot of very long periods of ice and frozenness.
Which was awesome because we do love seasons.
And you don't like ticks.
That's a whole podcast.
So that's another thing. So you were happy to hear that
I'm
they
like,
may have.
How long will the ice last?
Yes.
So that the ticks will die off.
Correct.
Which is,
gone
I guess,
to join the
there
choir
is no
invisible.
real answer to that. But anyway.
There is not.
We'll talk about natural tick remedies on another podcast. Send them all in to Yard to Table.
But it's fun. I mean, in truth, it is the last couple of years here that we've had, which has been so much fun. We've been reintroduced to our youth of having constant seasons and seasonal change.
Which we love.
And I think we got very used to being in California where there is really no seasonal change in any big degree.
Right.
It's a little bit here and a little bit there. You know, sometimes
We
around
knew-
February,
yeah.
the non-native trees lose their leaves.
Well, there were a couple moments like when the jacaranda trees bloomed. Those, if you don't know, they're very tall. They're all over Los Angeles, Southern California, maybe not down in San Diego, but in Los Angeles County, huge purple flowers. And that is our daughter's favorite color. So that was always a big moment when the jacarandas bloomed. And when you knew you needed, California was always tricky because you had seasons in a day sometimes, right? So it would be super warm.
It is a desert.
Right. And then you're like, oh, it's hot, and you're in your tank top and you're running around. And if you didn't throw a sweater in the car or on your shoulders, it was 50 degrees.
Or 40 degrees.
Or 40, and you'd be freezing depending on where you were in the elevation of the town.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
So,
some of the coldest nights that I've ever had have been in beautiful, sunny California.
Coming out of the pool.
You're just like frozen. It's always windy and cold at night. But seasonally, it's still not too different.
No. And one of the things that we've said many times and how we continue to feel is how much we love seasons. And because I think it was a more traditional feeling, Northeast New England winter, this spring just hit me between the eyes in terms of being so wowed by everything that was pumping out of the ground. From the skunk cabbage, is this crazy purpley alien looking color and thing that comes out of the ground and literally warms the soil up. What is that name for it again? What kind of plant?
Heliogenic.
It's a heliogenic plant.
Yeah,
so
like
cool.
snowdrops.
Like snowdrops, right. So you see the snowdrops and these beautiful clumps that are all along our brook and around our backfield. They are just propagating
everywhere.
All over the place.
It's awesome.
And we're trying to move them to be along the stream, but that window gets very fleeting. But the skunk cabbage to all the spring ephemerals that are popping up, from the trumpet lily to the Dutchman's breeches.
What are these names? Who's
love
the one?
'em. The white trillium. I literally walked around the property, and because we do have so much land, to say, what do we have? We're always looking, because
Yeah.
as we have gotten rid of all the chemicals on the property, and we've let things grow. We remove things like the garlic mustard weed, which is delicious but invasive, but letting the mayapple grow as ground cover, taking out the pachysandra, which I hate. There's ticks again. They live in there, the mice and the chipmunks and everything. It's so exciting to see the bluebells growing and all of those things that are part of the spring ephemerals that start to bring color into what is a very drab landscape.
Bercubane, Land of Eternal Night, also known as just March in Connecticut.
Yeah.
It's rainy and cold.
But one of the things I love, of course, as everyone knows, is flowers. And
I was not aware.
You weren't?
No one listening knows. This is new news. It's breaking news, friends. Breaking news to everyone out there that's listening. Ellen likes flowers.
Oh.
That's a scoop.
And I will say that Christina Kother of State of Nomatica has infected me with tulip fever.
It is a spreading disease. It is something that I think has no known cure.
Right.
But is very infectious. So
yes.
I do want everybody to just watch out. You don't have to watch the tulips. The tulips are fine. There's no disease on the tulips. It's in the planters of the tulips, the humans that put them in the ground, that seem to succumb quickly to this affliction.
Because I think the first year
we had some
400. That was a lot. Still, I think I picked 4 varieties and 100 of each.
Mm-hmm. Continue the story. I know where it's going. Let
year,
everyone else know where it's going.
Last year it was 700 tulips. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have a big list for next year.
How many is it next year?
Well, we'll talk about that later.
No.
But
go ahead.
Maybe close to 1,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of tulips.
Yeah.
That's a lot of tulips.
Well, here's the thing.
Tell me all about it. I'm here and I'm listening.
So
go ahead, caller.
So our tulips, they bloom. I like to pick the ones that bloom from early to late. The early ones, Mondial was the beautiful white double tulip that Christina turned me on to very early. And it's beautiful. But this year I had found this exotic emperor, which is a white tulip that has, when it opens up, it's kind of got these kind of spiky, double tulip also, but with these spiky leaves. And then in the center is this yellow and green.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
And when they dry, they're like these crazy, not dry, but as they age in the vase and then eventually are at their end, they're these crazy pinwheels that are just so cool, right?
And I think that's a lot of people think about a tulip and you think sort of the initial state of a tulip, which is that sort of standard egg-shapy kind of pattern, all the stuff that you see around, but really a very wide variety. And you don't think a lot about the sort of end state of tulips.
Yes.
Not only are they very beautiful and unique and interesting in the early stage of when they come out and they get cut and blah, blah, blah. But then also at the end, like you were saying, these really widened out into these very unique shapes and structures.
So
and even though they were
artistic.
sort of at the end, they still retained a lot of very interesting beauty.
And of course, tulips that you grow and raise organically, grow organically, they last longer. They're beautiful. You can keep them in a vase for weeks at a time. You can, if you have time, you can pull them out. You can recut stems. You change water. I don't always have time for that, even with being a lazy arranger and viewer of the vase.
Oh, yes, you're very lazy.
We have a lot of tulips going on in the house, right?
That's true.
Well,
that is true.
It makes me joy. It's joyful. It's
That's
joyous. I love it so much. But Christina turned me onto it, and then we planted Exotic Emperor this year, World Bowl, which was another double tulip that was an early, beautiful, pinky, more magenta-y, really red color. There was the Belle Epoque that was new this year. That's another one that when it was like a peachy, goldy color, and then when it matured in the vase, they expanded out. They were huge. I did a big arrangement on the table, on the potting table, because it made me happy when we walked over to the barn to see them there. And Belle Epoque, which, oh my gosh, they're just a beautiful double tulip that just aged to sort of, golden late. I can't even describe it. It was like a pinky orange, and then it sort of got to a rusty, faded golden color. I love that. I ordered that again for next year.
That's how I'm hoping to age.
To a rusty golden color.
Rusty golden color. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but that sounds. Maybe I'll retain some of my natural beauty as I get towards the end myself.
Oh, honey, you're so naturally beautiful to me. Always.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. But one of the other favorites new this year was the Louvre tulip. It was this beautiful purple with a fringy
That one was really
petal.
cool.
That was
very
like
cool.
a showstopper. Queen of the Night, which is one of the late bloomers, which is a very dark, almost black purple, more traditional shape. The fun part about that tulip was everyone that grew like a little baby companion tulip. So I was cutting and making little bouquets out of the smaller ones and putting them in our daughter's bedroom. It was so fun. And my favorite,
Here it comes.
the Renown Unique,
That's it. That's the one.
which is a late season tulip, double tulip. It is beautiful red rosy color. And it really, for me, I think it's the precursor to peony season. It
It's
very
like a
much,
mock. It's peony adjacent.
yeah.
It's a mock peony.
Well, and that's in. There's just this world of tulips that I never knew were anything but the more traditional look. And there's the broken tulips that have this incredible sort of striped variation that came from a fungus that people didn't like, but they're very old and ancient. I think we have to have Christina on to talk about tulips because she's like my sage.
She could come back.
Yeah.
She's invited. She can come back.
Don't
It's
you think,
fine.
everybody? She's so amazing. But it's just been great. And so, yeah, there's a few more for next year coming.
A few.
Yeah.
300 is not a few. Like a few is like 5.
You mean 300 more?
Uh-huh.
Well, we have the beds for it.
And herein lies the trick. When you have a
giving them
yard
away.
and the yard is big, you want to fill it with beautiful things. And
Yes.
so why not?
When nothing else is growing, seeing those beds full of incredible color and variety is just, that's a heartwarmer.
You know I love it too.
I know. And you know, the other part I love too is I give them away.
Totally.
I give them to our friends. Our daughter's teacher got a bouquet. Just, that's the good stuff. I love it.
Close to the tulips also, we had our mountain phlox came back again.
Oh yeah, it was beautiful.
We have white and purple, and that just creates such an amazing sort of carpet of color. And you don't realize it sort of looks pretty rugged over the winter. And then all of a sudden it goes boing.
Yeah, and that creeping phlox, a lot of people will do it as a lawn cover.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it blooms and then it fades and then it blooms again. But it's like these puffy clouds of color
pretty awesome.
that you just want to dive into. And I think the other early flower that I hadn't really known too much about previously was the hellebore. And that's another one that now I'm like obsessed.
You are fully obsessed with the hellebore.
Fully obsessed.
You're hella obsessed.
Oh, that was
Hella obsessed.
That was a lot. That
Those
was
are
a
the
lot,
puns.
people.
The
These are the
puns.
puns. These are the puns.
Everybody knew. If they listened to season 1, they know this is puns and it's accents. And I haven't done an accent in a while, but
and
don't worry, listeners.
And nor shall he.
They're coming. Worry not.
No. So
Let
hellebores,
not your
yes.
heart
So we
be
had
troubled.
Thank you, honey. We had one hellebore was at the base of a tree.
Yeah, one of our beach trees. Yeah.
Yes, as you walk into our backyard. And I was always like, what is that flower? Figured out what it was. They're so hardy. They're
Yeah.
shade lovers. And they have these beautiful colors, the fire and ice variety. So we went out. I said, this plant's lonely. It needs friends. So we went out and got some fully grown so we could enjoy them. We potted them in some shady areas around the house. So around the yard, I should say, house and yard. Once they stop blooming, which will be soon, they usually bloom till about end of May. We're gonna replant them and put them in with our lonely hellebore by the
Which
tree.
will be lonely no
and
more.
then next spring they will come back again, which is beautiful.
Yeah,
and I
it'll be
planted
great.
some in the garden too, by the way.
Yeah, you planted a lot in the garden.
Yeah, those are going to be for bouquets.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful. And speaking of the garden, the old yard, we had some volunteer holdovers from last year that overwintered, which I was very surprised about.
You know, we learn something
thrilled.
new every year.
Because it was a hard winter. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a lot of ice
Well,
and
boom.
and a lot of snow
Yeah.
and very frigid temperatures. But
All of a sudden, we started to have some baby spinach popping up.
and pop up it did. I mean, this is all of our holdovers from last year, and we didn't pull the plants in that specific bed. I think there were cosmos in the middle of that bed
Yes.
last year.
Yes.
And
That might have been the sunflower bed.
that might have been the sunflower bed. Either way,
Yeah.
I'm going to say, friends, I wouldn't recommend planting incredibly tall plants in the middle of a bed and then having other things around the perimeter, only because then it actually does become rather challenging to manage the middle of the bed because you have to try to get to it and you're reaching and things like that.
It's good exercise. You're doing a lot of climbing.
And it looks beautiful, but it's a little hard on the on the reaching.
Mm-hmm.
But those spinaches, they decided they did not want to go away.
No, they came back and we've been enjoying that. It's been wonderful. And then, of course, the carrots. We had a bunch of carrots that have come back.
They came back on their own as
well. Just
thinned
them out. So we were going to have some nice big carrots coming in. And of course, the rhubarb is a perennial. So that's always an easy one to plant. You got to get in there. You've got to nip off the flowers as they start to come in, but it's so hardy and resilient.
Yeah.
Fortunately, our ground cherries didn't make it this.
No, that we're gonna work on that again because I adore ground cherries, and I feel like that's a really important part of our garden, and I really want to have that really come forward this season. So we'll keep everybody posted on how that's going. And of course, the old asparagus patch came back in force as always. That really is the springtime for me. It's like you walk and you crack off and you take a bite and it's so sweet and it's so crunchy.
It's the best.
In the morning, it's like absolutely perfect.
A lot of weeding. That patch got crazy.
Yeah, it did.
Over the winter.
It did.
That was a backbreaker.
Yeah, it did. Because you're like, I don't want to trample anything that might be down here.
Well, it is. It's like, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to be so careful because you can't, obviously the crowns get under there and you're not seeing anything yet, but it's just, you want to make sure you're not disturbing it and you're trying to get everything clear. And it's a good workout.
I feel like
gardening is great workouts.
I feel like I need to make a Mission Impossible rig where you're like hanging over
that's a great
the bed
idea.
And it's
of course you would think of that.
And it's on like wheels with a motor.
Can I wheel you? And
no, you don't
hang?
need to. Wait,
how are you getting in this? Tell me more.
In the rig?
Yeah.
It's like an exoskeleton suit that you basically put on, and it's sort of the two options here. Anybody out there that's ever moved anything with pods, the container moving system, they have like a whole little set of legs that comes and connects it and a little remote control, and it just drives around. So we can make the same thing.
That does not sound expensive.
And then, no, not at all. And then you just lower yourself down and you're sort of like in a hammock on your belly, and then you just do your weeding and then you hit the button and it moves you forward. That seems I think that's a much easier and more simple way to do it.
Yes, of course. Where do you store all that rig stuff? I mean, after you've paid for it, of course.
So we did a lot of weeding in our bed.
Practical.
I don't know. I'm a big thinker.
We
know
are.
this.
I love your big
documented.
Well, we have to approach the garden in a different way this year.
That's true, because we have had a couple of things
happening to our table.
Our table is
literally
changing.
Yeah.
We are redesigning, rebuilding, restoring, and retaining our kitchen and our dining room, and we are creating
a scullery.
So
excited.
So the original owner of the house, Alice Delamar, built the house in a lot of that part of the house in the early 30s, and all of that existed until the 80s when the house changed hands, and that next owner really did an amazing job with the kitchen, but then not a lot happened since that point in time. So a lot of our elements, like our fridge and our freezer, was all from 1986.
Which is amazing. Because they, with the exception of the freezer, which broke about a year ago.
Yeah. It died a death and was not resurrectable.
We had these incredible appliances that lasted a very long time.
Things now are not meant to last that long.
Sadly,
I don't think.
They should be, but
they totally should be.
That's why we like to talk about sustainability in all things.
But it was time.
Yes.
There was a lot of things that had to happen.
And I will say we view ourselves as stewards.
Very much so.
Of this property. And that was one of the things that drew us to it, probably more than others, because there was a lot to take on.
Because we're crazy people.
We are. We're definitely crazy people. But this house has a lot of history to it. We love that about it. and has a character that we love. And we really know that we are the caretakers and the stewards of this property. And that's important to us. The decisions we make around this property, we want to be timeless.
And the hope was that in opening some of these walls and things like that, that we would find a gigantic pile of gold or money or something. None of that happened. We did find some dry rot, and a fair amount of that.
Yeah. And some things left by friends.
Yeah. Some of those chipmunks and mice that Ellen
Might have
mentioned
gotten into the walls
earlier may have allowed us to have sort of
life in the country. Yeah.
New, unique perspectives on life and death. So ultimately, we're right in the thick of it right now.
Thick of a renovation.
We're sort of
relate.
We're rounding the corner on this big adjustment, because it really is a third of the house essentially is getting adjusted.
Yes.
But in the process of following our joy, following the things that really make us incredibly happy, our yard is such a huge, enormous part of that. Our table is such a huge, enormous part of that. Entertaining, being able to extend our time in the garden and with the fruits of our labor, no pun intended. But the apple orchard is doing wonderfully. Thank you for asking. But really to come up with some new ideas to help create a space for us that extends our yard to table lifestyle.
And that we feel is very much in keeping with the nature of the property.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's crazy. We moved the kitchen to the one end of the house. It was in the center of the house before. And we can see the garden now from the kitchen window.
We opened up a wall. We made more window space so that we had a better view.
Yes.
We just created a lot of elements that let a lot of light in, and also were able to have us almost feel like the outside was coming inside.
Yes. And still keep the character of a older house, which was very important to us. So when we say open a wall, it was basically open a window. Was making the window a larger window, but keeping in the character of the building, because that was very, very important to us.
For sure.
Can I talk about the scullery a little bit?
Well, I mean, it's nothing going on in there. It's not interesting at all. So go ahead.
So I'm calling it a scullery. Sounds very bougie, but it is in keeping with the house in terms of the time period, right? And the activity that's going to happen in that space, because that is a place of bringing in the vegetables now from the garden and being able to process them and do the things that we love to do, like canning and cutting and freezing and obviously cooking and storing. But the most exciting thing is my flower fridge.
Yes, friends, Ellen is getting a flower fridge. We went fully insane, and she's getting a commercial flower fridge in our home.
I am. It's my cooler. It is why a flower fridge? Why not? But it has a different temperature and humidity than a regular refrigerator. Yep. And as I was experimenting this season with keeping tulips for a longer period of time, I'm literally wrapping up bunches with the bulb on, laying them on the floor of the basement bathroom to keep them cold. And it was working. I thought, how amazing this will be to actually have the flower fridge where I can do this and store it. And the same thing with our peony season is about to be upon us. Our peony season is about to be upon us. And
it cometh, the glorious
and the
days.
saving of the peonies, they can last for months.
Yes.
If you get them in that marshmallow stage and wrap them up, and then you rehydrate them, and you've got peonies, extended peony season. So with all of the grounds that we have and the ability to grow, it's exciting to be able to think about extending the season for these things, to do the thing I love. That's my stress relief, is cutting flowers and arranging flowers and putting them around the house and entertaining with them and giving them to friends. I'm so excited.
It's very...
It's crazy, but you got to do crazy sometimes, people. You got to find your joy.
No, I think that's part of it. It's you have an opportunity.
A new car or a flower fridge? Flower fridge.
Yeah, well documented. But it's... But you have this opportunity to do something different and new, because we had to redo this part of the house anyway.
Right.
So why not create something that's new and that's different? We're experimenting. You were experimenting with all of the different configurations of how do you keep in trying to plan for something that gave you joy. And I think that's the fun part about having things in your yard, because you can experiment. And it also takes time. You have to do it over a period of time where if something doesn't work, then you have to try it differently and plant it again, or try again, or come up with a different idea. Because that's, I think, how we really hone in on the things that work and the things that really make us happy.
And I think it's what sparks our creativity. There's so much around planning and planting gardens and flowers and landscape that is an art. And there's so much creative joy it gives both of us, and sparks so much of our work in the different fields that we do outside of this podcast. And it is...
There's nothing outside of this podcast.
There's nothing. But it's I think it's really very giving in that sense to us and to me personally. So I am...
Can I tell them about the
Yeah.
countertops?
Yeah.
So in the scullery, we also have new countertops, as you do.
Yes. Oh, everything had to, well, yes.
A lot of things had to be rebuilt and redone. We are using the sink from our old kitchen as the sink in the scullery, which is a lovely farmhouse sink, which will fit in perfectly. As things happen, we had a beech tree in the front of the property that had been badly damaged even before we came to Stonebrook, and huge crack, huge half of the tree had come off in some derecho or something else somewhere along the line. And sadly, it passed away, as it does, as things do. It's part of the challenge of having a property with an enormous amount of very mature trees, which are absolutely stunning and gorgeous.
Is management of said trees.
Management of said trees. And sometimes you lose them.
Timber!
Yeah. So we actually took those huge pieces and had a company come to mill them on site for us, and then kiln dry them. And then we will be using those beech countertops as the countertops for the scullery.
Which is really awesome.
Because then the outside is coming in, and we're able to extend the outside through being able to see it and work on it. And I just love that, being able to have part of Stonebrook outside come inside. And that's really fun and important, I think.
And so many of the decisions that we're making, because that was how they were made in the past by Alice and previous owners, but mostly Alice, it was finding things that were from Connecticut or from New England that were being used, local artists, local materials. And if you follow us at Stonebrook House, we'll share a lot of this and the progression of the coming together of the renovation and those very special, unique local touches that we're putting into the house, because that's really part of the history of this property.
Yeah, Alice had a forge on site, a lot of the hinges, and
I know you're very disappointed we don't have a forge.
I want a forge so bad. Friends, I'm dying for one. I don't know if it's forge or chickens. I don't know what comes first.
Oh, the chickens already.
It's season 2. They never went away, by the way. But that's the fun part, is that I feel like we are very much carrying on Alice's legacy of making things right here on the property and bringing it into the house and
recognizing local artisans.
Yeah.
That's really important. So we're excited to share more as we move forward. But
it's exciting stuff.
But the renovation has impacted the garden plan.
It has.
Yeah.
It has. Right now, what we're doing is we are cooking on a 2-burner induction plug-in stovetop.
And a toaster oven.
Yes. Microwave, and a tea kettle.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the extent of
it's warmer out, so the grill is in the mix.
The grill is back on again, which I'm super happy about. And that's becoming
for people who like to cook and eat, it is a little challenging.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we're always cooking,
but
and we're always trying something.
Not big problems to have in the grand scheme of things.
No, not at all. But we are working towards trying to still unique things and things we find at the market.
Yeah.
And
well, this is again where our local growers and makers have sustained us from being able to purchase, now especially things that are starting to become in season that are growing, but also pre-made meals. That has been a huge help. We would not have been able to get through.
We just had a fabulous pot pie from Janae Hibansky just the other day. Herbaceous Catering was so good.
And her frozen like butternut squash and zucchini lasagnas.
Oh yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing. We did miss out on the ramp lasagna when we were there at the farmer's market the
Yes,
last time.
we did.
That was a disappointment.
It was
But we have been
sadness.
doing a lot with ramps. We don't grow them ourselves.
No,
unfortunately.
We don't have any on the property, which seems quite strange.
It's amazing. 11 acres. We don't have ramps.
I know. But if you are not familiar with ramps, we've talked about it on the podcast before. They're just an early spring allium. It's a leafy green. Don't confuse them with lily of the valley because that's toxic. They have a red base.
Not lily of the valley. Ramps have a
do.
red base.
They do
yeah.
have a red stem. Delicious. And
So good.
we found them at the opening day of the farmer's market.
Yep. And we've been putting them in everything.
And because we have limited options,
True.
it's a chop and add situation, a chop and
But it's
saute.
working.
But you know what? This is where keep it simple. It's delicious.
Yeah.
Rampant eggs, rampant rice.
Rampant asparagus and eggs. It's just like
You made this delicious grilled shrimp with lime and cilantro with a ramp rice for
I did.
Mother's Day. It was beyond yummy.
it was very tasty.
We had
Yeah.
salad that, with delicious greens from Sport Hill Farm. Thank you to our local farms.
It's-
But our garden plan this year is going to be, the focus is really on flowers.
Yes.
We're going to plan for,
It's a flower forward early garden.
yes, which is great. So we're still going to be growing the things that we love, which are tomatoes and zucchini. And we're going to do some,
We got eggplant again, Chinese eggplant.
acorn squash,
All of our lettuces
bell
that we
peppers,
normally do.
lettuces,
Yeah.
spinach.
The staples.
But one of our main areas, and it was so fun when I was talking to Christina about what we were going to do this year and how we were going to design it. She's like, I think you need a place to sit and take a deep breath because of the construction.
Oh.
And life is crazy. And so we have this sort of 4 beds coming together in a flower. We collaborated on this area that is just going to be beautiful. So it'll be our cosmos again, the Stonebrook zinnia seed mix and Celiosa. I'm always learning how to pronounce things, which are these beautiful sort of plumy flowers. Along with some lemon basil is going to be mixed in there. And then I'm trying things like Sweet Williams and snapdragons, and we're going to plant some more purple asters because that's a native that's beautiful in fall. And I'm looking forward to it. So it'll be flowers with a focus on enjoying flower bathing. Love that. Forest bathing and then flower bathing, but also being able to cut. So these are things that I'll be able to use to cut and make bouquets. And again, my little stress reliever of sitting at the potting bench and putting something together. So that'll be great. And then hopefully,
Yeah, and then we'll focus more on the late harvest vegetables and
And next year we're going to have a Gordon.
I
I really want that.
you want that big
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Well, we have the space for it. We
I
can do
know.
it.
Yeah.
Just one more item on the list.
So I guess the season of growing has begun at
Yes.
Stonebrook,
Yes, it has.
and the podcast season has begun.
Well done. I sit across from you often in pretty much all walks of life, all
scenarios.
parts of our life.
Yes.
Dinner table, breakfast table, podcast table, office table, garden table,
A lot of tables.
a lot of tables. And I did not see that coming. I really didn't.
Isn't it nice that
You're a mystery.
coming up on our 12th anniversary?
That's right. 12 years together as a married
I
couple.
still surprise
You still are a mystery to me.
But we're very excited about season 2. We have a lot of exciting guests coming on that you will be finding out about. And of course, the amazing stories from our garden and our lands and hopefully our new table.
And you'll see it all season 2.
Season 2.
It's going to be just so much fun.
Delivering a little different episode content too. Hint, hint.
Oh, we're messing around with the format a little bit.
We'd love your feedback.
Yeah, we're just gonna change some stuff up, do some field work, and
Yeah.
get out there into the world.
Yeah.
Well beyond
A
our little
more
plots.
slices of life in the
Yeah.
yard.
It's gonna be so much fun.
And well, it's really awesome to be back. And thanks everybody for listening and being back with us for season 2 of Yard to Table.
I can't wait to dig in. Dig. The digging with the garden. And it's a pun.
Dad joke too.
There's a pun. It's puns. It's all puns.
Thanks for being with us and having a seat at our table.
Yard to Table is a production of Macrocosm Entertainment. Don't forget to rate us and subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. And for tips and more information, follow us on Instagram at Stonebrook House.